Welcome to Food and Facilities, an online show for West Coast Industrial Solutions magazine. Our goal is to cultivate knowledge to feed the world by focusing our quarterly trade issues on safety, compliance, and innovation within manufacturing, agriculture, food processing, and food and beverage industries. In this episode, we will be discussing proactive workplace safety with James Boretti of Boretti, Inc., resources for manufacturers with Craig Sharton of CMTC Solutions, and gratitude and productivity with Lisa Ryan of Grategy. Welcome to Food and Facilities. I'm Tara Sweeney, the Marketing Director of West Coast Industrial Solutions magazine, and today we'll be discussing proactive workplace safety with James Boretti of Boretti, Inc., resources for manufacturers with CMTC Solutions' Craig Sharton, and gratitude and productivity with Grategy by Lisa Ryan. Make sure to subscribe at wcismag.com/subscribe for all safety and compliance news for manufacturing, food and beverage, food processing, and agriculture. My first guest today is James Boretti. He's a safety, health, and environmental services consultant. You can check him out at borettiinc.com or give him an email at james@borettiinc.com. James?
Hey, good morning, Tara. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. So thanks for having me on the program today. Really appreciate it. And I know we were going to talk a little bit about the positive parts of safety rather than being reactionary with safety, especially in these days of COVID, and everything continues to change, it seems like, almost on a daily basis with regard to any new regulations that we're facing, that's for sure. So anything in particular you would like me to cover at the moment, or what would you like? Just I'll dive right in and just kind of give you an idea.
Yeah, you have the 5 main steps of being more proactive with your safety in the workplace.
Okay with this, I'm going to go ahead and share a screen. It'll give us a little bit of something to a visual as we talk it through.
Sounds good.
So, okay, so with that, as you can see on the screen here, with the PowerPoint, there really are 5 steps for success with regard to safety, and honestly, these can be applied without a pandemic going on. So they all work very well, but specifically with COVID, even though the regulations continue to change, and we know in California, we have seen 3 different sets of regulations come through. If you include the emergency regulations that were just signed by Cal OSHA this past week. Even with that, these 5 steps work very well, and I'll touch on those regulations here momentarily. But fairly quickly here, just to kind of cover the aspects of these, what you really want to do is assess. And this doesn't have to be anything really formal. It's really understanding and looking at your business, but looking at it from a risk standpoint and what could possibly happen. So really you're looking at it from a risk, identifying those things and then saying, what are we going to do to control those risks? So as an example, with regard to COVID, what are the risks that we have? Obviously, if we're interacting with customers and a variety of customers, a large degree of customers, then our risk could be greater because you really don't know who is carrying what and how they're going ahead, maybe passing that on to us. We want to control it because from that standpoint, we create confidence within the workplace and with our customers that we are not going to be part of the spread. Also, we ensure that our businesses continue forward and we keep our greatest assets, our good employees, moving forward so that the business continues to operate. Once you get that into place and obviously you want to write a process. Now that's something that Cal OSHA has required and certainly has come out in the new emergency regulations that will become applicable within the next 10 days. Those also align with the other 2 regulations that have come about in California with regard to reporting to the California Department of Public Health, as well as reporting to Cal OSHA any of the incidents that may occur from COVID. So the written process actually formalizes what the controls are, and you can replicate what you're trying to get accomplished by having that in place. Again, this doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be a big book. It has to be practical and has to be implementable and very good at controlling the risk and the exposure we have. Of course, when you have that there, you want to engage for success. And engaging people, involves education. Tell them what you're doing, tell them how this works, tell them why you're doing it, and tell them what they need to do by when in order to make sure that this goes forward. From there, of course, you're doing implementation, meaning that, all right, we know what we have, we've got a process in place, we've already trained people and communicated. Again, these things don't have to take long. What we need to do is actually implement them. And from that, we can learn. So we can put things in place that work very well, but at the same time, we know that going through something new, we're probably not going to be perfect 100% the first time around. So when incidents do occur, instead of saying that, oh, gee, this whole thing doesn't work, instead we investigate so that we can make changes to improve the process, and therefore we learn from that and make it better. We identify a new risk, we come up with controls, we add it to our written process, we educate people for what's going on, we keep implementing it, and this actually looks like that whole continuous improvement process that really makes our businesses better as we continue through time. So that kind of gives you an idea of what we're talking about here. And I just wanted to share that briefly so at least we have some sort of a visual to talk through. Now, when we're talking about the regulations that have come about, a lot of that is really trying to define who does what by when. And essentially what they're doing is identifying what an outbreak would be, and that if you end up with an outbreak, which is defined as 3 or more people within a 14-day period, with COVID or suspected COVID, you need to, report that both to Cal OSHA, the California Department of Public Health, as well as having a written process in place. You're going to have to put a written process in place, much like what we've just kind of covered here. Then what you need to do is make sure that you educate people. And that can be your own employees, but your way of educating customers, maybe contractors, anybody who might be coming on site. So what we're seeing is a lot of companies are actually trying to restrict the amount of people and the number of people coming in on site. That also restricts the possibility and the probability of having a spread happen from that. So there's those things that are in place, the emergency regulations, some of whom have actually gone in place, September? Excuse me, sorry about that. In September, and some of which are coming into place January 1st. Those are going to remain in place until January 1st of 2023, or unless, of course, the pandemic subsides during that time frame. So that kind of gives a rough idea. But Tara, are you seeing anything or hearing anything that people are specifically asking for with regard to any of the regulations or any of the safety things that people might be wanting to take? Any practices, any expectations?
I know a lot of people are having issues with responding to the changes quickly, and I think it's good to give them a baseline of what they should do at all times in order to be ready for when rollbacks happen.
Right. If there are going to be rollbacks, or how that's going to act. As you can see over the past week or so, many of our counties in the state of California have definitely returned back to a purple, which starts to do the restriction in the number of people, plus the restriction of movement as much as possible. But what we're also seeing, and what I think we've learned since the time of March, April, if you will, is that a full-on lockdown is probably not likely. I think we'll see more and greater restrictions, but we also have better knowledge as to what prevents the spread. If you recall, in the beginning, we were talking about droplets, 6 feet, surfaces touching, that kind of thing, and not so much about masks. And as time has gone on, we've learned more and more about transmission, where masks are actually a very helpful part and a component of all the other things that we're doing: the social distancing, the cleanliness, the barriers, the restrictions. Some people are staggering work schedules and work start and stop times, limiting interaction with public. All of those things are actually together very helpful in preventing the spread. We can't do just one thing. We have to be looking at all of these things together in order to really kind of get ourselves out of this mode of transmission and into a mode of recovery. And that's truly what would help a lot of people, a lot of businesses as we move forward.
Definitely. It's like the comparison of why we have speed limits and still have to wear seat belts. It's all layers upon layers of preventative precautions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of us, those of us who are watching this program and are subscribers of this program, we all also see this from a food safety standpoint. I mean, obviously the food safety standpoint came into being because of the incidents that kept occurring somewhere along the supply line. And so what happens by putting all those components into place, as long as they're all working together, we have a safe and secure food supply line, which actually builds confidence for our customers that what they're buying ends up being something that's safe and consumable for them. It's the same thing that we're talking about with safety from a COVID standpoint, that if I'm going and interacting with my coworker or if I'm interacting with customers or anything like that, I have confidence that you've put these things into place, so therefore I am not exposed, but you need to have confidence in me that I've done the same thing in order to make sure that I'm not exposed. Therefore, we put the brake in place. Therefore, the virus has nothing to feed on, and therefore it starts to go away. That's the idea anyway.
Exactly. And we just need to make sure that everybody knows what is expected of them and communicate that so that they know the best preventative measures, because there's a lot of contradictory information out there that's not necessarily accurate, and we want to make sure that people know the true information that is accurate and best for their safety.
Absolutely. And to that end, I find that if you hear information, instead of going on just the information being reported, go to the source. Go to the source to the information, find out where it's come from. And over, what I find is that medical centers, medical universities, those entities that feed into the CDC or Johns Hopkins or anything like that, you can get through the noise to find out what really is going on and how you can actually make a difference in the spread. So there are a lot of simple things we can do. We just need to not become complacent. I know everybody has the fatigue factor going on. We've lived with this now for quite some time, and there have been a lot of questions about it, but quite honestly, a little bit longer, we can make it through, and we'll end up overcoming this together.
I think that's an amazing spot to close on. Would you like to share anything else with us, James? How would people get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime if you have any questions, certainly our website is a place you can go visit. We have a COVID page that actually links to the CDC. We also have some links up there for the California Department of Public Health, and that's where you can get your updated information on a regular basis. So certainly feel free to reach out. Not a problem. We'll answer your questions as best we can, point you in the right direction, and look forward to breaking the cycle with this COVID virus.
Thank you for taking time to talk with me today, James. I look forward to being able to share more of your safety information with our readers.
Same here, Tara. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a good day.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
One of our sponsors is California League of Food Producers. You can visit them at clfp.com or call them at 916-640-8150. They help bring California's goodness to the world through labor laws, water regulations, Proposition 65, labeling requirements, regulating chemicals, drinking water, transportation, greenhouse gas, cap and trade. And now we will have a moment of silence for our Black Lives Matter community.